Hey guys, how's it going? Long time no see. Despite not making or not publishing any videos or any content really, I wasn't AFK. I was still paying attention, doing my thing, kind of working things out, thinking about stuff. I played a lot, kind of to see Dota from the other side. So this is not really me being rusty and like coming back and looking at like, a new patch, guys. What's going on? I'm well aware of what's happening. Part of the reason why I didn't want to make any content is I wasn't sure what Valve were gonna do with the ecosystem. And to be honest, I expected them to do something back in April. But it was already too late in my opinion. But I guess it wasn't because they fixed the MMR thing and it looks better. We'll see if it is actually something that's gonna have a positive effect on the ecosystem. I'm hoping there's more coming. I'm predicting that they're definitely working on cheaters. I think they're gonna fix that maybe again in December, like they did before. But I'm guessing there's more coming. We'll see if it's enough, if it's good, or if it's just a band-aid, and the ecosystem is just gonna stay the same. Talking about ecosystem, there was a very interesting quote by Corbin, who is manager of Team Spirit. And he said, "We are in the most competitive season," which is an interesting observation because I don't think he's exactly wrong. I don't know if it's the most competitive, but it's definitely competitive. However, TI starts in a week and there's no other tournaments happening, so we'll see if TI is actually competitive or teams have figured things out that others didn't figure out, and it's actually going to be a real tired system. Tired, I mean, real tires are going to emerge. Um, and on that note, I think I'll say a little bit more later. But for now, today I want to talk about Sven, who is back in the meta. And one of the things that happened is I got interested with Sven a little while ago, and I kind of figured some things out. And it was pointless and kind of useless because Sven became irrelevant. But now that Sven is relevant again, my work wasn't wasted. It was just, you know, I just kept it in my back pocket, and now I can use it. Uh, okay, so Great Cleave is the spell that I wanted to talk about most. Even though it seems like the most basic one, it is actually the one that I think can unlock a, a better version of Sven, and it's not that hard to do. So, Great Cliff got changed almost 18 months ago or something like that. A long time ago, basically. Got changed from having fixed cleave distance and cleave end width, basically how far you cleave, but then they also rescaled the damage so that they amped it so the level 1 was much stronger. And then the other kind of buff they gave, basically almost a year later, is that they improved it to 60%, which is the version of Cleave that we have right now. There were no changes to Cleave afterwards. So what does it mean for Sven? Uh, well, let me just show you instead of telling you. I think most are familiar, if you're watching this, you're probably familiar with Dota. If you're not, there's this concept of value point, and value point means that just one level is already a lot. So basically, you don't actually have to skill a skill more than once, uh, because the first level is already a lot. For example, you can say Stormhammer is a value point because you just, if enemies TP and all you want to do is actually cancel the TP, so the value point is this. You don't need to max it early because, just the fact that it has the stun in it is enough. Okay, in that same sense, Great Cleave is actually a value point. Believe it or not, you don't need to max it, as level 1 is already very good. Let me show you this. So we have a Sven, right? Let's give him normal items. Let's give him level 6. And this is the typical Sven build that you'll see right now. Maybe they'll have, they will have small items, but this is kind of what they are gonna have. Let's say we are planning on farming a stacked ancient camp. So what you would do is, you drag the creeps, you ult, you do this, and then you hit them. This is your level 3 Cleave. They're not running away because I'm it's a demo mode. Basically, I can farm this. I lose all of my HP, but I can farm it. If I drag the creeps better while they're walking back, etc., I can have more HP. But you can farm a double camp, right? And this was with level 3 Great Cleave. Let's look at this from this perspective now. You saw how I farmed it. It doesn't have to be precise, although if you want it to be precise, then you can do some testing on your own. But I just want to show you the generally what is the effect of Cleave on farming. So again, same scenario, same creeps, except this time I have Great Cleave level 1, not level 3. So 2 skill points that I haven't spent. And I have these creeps go on me. And I hit them. Sorry, I was running around, but not properly. I mean, it's clearly slower. I mean, I kind of messed up. It's you can see the difference, kind of. But it didn't go from I could kill the camp, like the stacked camp, to I couldn't kill. So the 2 levels in Cleave didn't actually matter in the sense like I could still do it. If I did it better, I would probably, spend a little bit more time killing it. But in general, it was quite close. Now, if we do the same kind of experiment, but we do this with level 3 Warcry, which is what we can get since we're kind of just skipping the value point in our Cleave. Sorry, my spells are... Fortunately, I leveled up. You can see it's still slightly slower. I have roughly the same HP, but the nice thing about it is that I will have my Warcry slightly earlier. So what I'm kind of showing here is that not having maxed out Great Cleave doesn't mean you can't farm. And this was an ancient camp stacked, which you might think, okay, well, stacked ancient camp is your bread and butter. Not really in today's meta. You don't actually go farming ancients early on Sven. This early you wouldn't do it because you would lose all your HP. It's dangerous, etc. Only in certain scenarios. So that's not your goal. If we actually just look at kind of same scenario with roughly same items. Let's say we're okay. Let's say we don't have that. We're level 5. You see, I have like the what you call it, habit of switching targets. But you can see you're farming normal. If we have a creep wave, come on, pay attention to me, creeps. I don't get the range creep from, like, you can see that the distance matters, but in reality, it's already functioning properly. Now, might seem like a small thing for now, So I hope I don't mean to convince you that it's the same as 3 levels and 2 levels and 1 level is the same, but it's very close. It's much closer than you think. A good metric for this is Battle Fury, which is what most players kind of buy on cores that don't have a built-in Battle Fury. Maybe topic for another video, but the idea is that you want this kind of cleave or mass creep hit in, one way or another. So Battle Fury gives you 40% cleave. It's a larger area. At the bottom there you can see passive cleave, deals 60% of damage, physical damage in the cone up to 650 around the target. It's it's lower when you hit creeps. So 40%. So level 1 is already more. Yes, the cleave distance is less, but that's manageable. That's nothing. Why is this relevant? Oh, is my 1, 2, 3? Yeah, it's all good. Why is this relevant? Well, there are two primary reasons. One comes at early levels, and the other one comes at later levels. Let's go into a game, an actual Dota 2 game, and first look at how Mickey played it. We're not really gonna pay any attention to the drafts or anything, because we just wanna see what Mickey does. So he skills Stormhammer level 1.
30 seconds to battle. It's showtime.
This is, by the way, what I think is the proper kind of idea about laning Sven. So he goes for like pretty good last hit on range creep. It's not, it's not actually that simple. He just made it look easy. It's good. They get a kill also. Pretty good stuff. Razor a little bit bugged. But because he pushed out the wave, it's kind of here. However, it's all good because what Mickey's mindset is the same as if he was playing Alchemist. All he wants is that the wave is volatile in a sense, like it goes back and forth. He gets the XP, he's getting the XP, and then he just goes and jungles. He doesn't want to stay here. He doesn't want to lane this, and you can see it in his items. So he buys boots. He buys boots first. Pretty good. Gonna go on him. And you can see at level 3 he skills Great Cleave. You can already guess that if you're maxing out Great Cleave, you simply cannot have 2 levels of Stormhammer, because then at level 7 you won't be able to max it out. You cannot get 2 levels of Warcry. You cannot skip Cleave on level 3 simply because you will need to max it out if you think it's important. So that's the first sort of point about this build, is that if you know you're not going to be maxing out Great Cleave, then you can have a build where by level 4, you only skill it on level 5 for the first time. And that might actually improve some lanes to the point where it's relevant. So this is point number 1, that if you're not maxing out Cleave first, if you understand that you don't have to, you can actually have a different build for the first few levels, and in some lanes it will matter. Although it might seem like a small, jump in terms of stun duration, or small jump in terms of armor, but as you know, laning is about small things mostly, and these 2 extra levels into these spells could actually change the outcome of the lane. Okay, so he's getting the boots. He goes here, and not only does he have a stack there already, but he stacks one more time. For those interested, I would recommend watching how Tofu did it. It's actually very simple, but you could see that this was their idea already. You can see he has Cleave level 2, so not much better than level 1. Slightly better, but not really, big difference. He has pretty much no items. He had boots specifically for this reason, so he can, rotate in the lane properly. He's comfortably farming this stack, so it would be roughly the same thing if he had level 1. It would take slightly more time, be slightly less comfortable, but it wouldn't be really any different. However, here, for example, maybe that kill would have been easier if he had, the 2-1-2 build, or, 3-1-2 build, or, like 1-1-3 build, etc. That's a different discussion, how you want to spend your points, but the idea is that Great Cleave really doesn't improve your farming that much. It just slightly improves the speed of your farming. So this is point number 1. Point number 2, for why this is relevant, is when we get to level, let's say we get to level 10. On level 10, come on, Mickey, be level 10. Stop being level 11. Okay, level 10. You can see that at level 10, the choice becomes, do we max out Stormhammer? Because we kind of want this to join the fights and set up kills for ourselves. Because, we have, like, Sven is kiteable. That's why he has, like, these spells. Because, if you use them right, they cannot really kite you, so you kill them. And that's, the item build is kind of revolves around that. So, at level 10, if you max out Great Cleave, you have a choice. Max out Stormhammer or max out Warcry. Almost everybody maxes out Stormhammer. But then, if you don't max out Great Cleave, you don't have to make this choice. You can have the best of both worlds. And by how much does your farming kind of drop because of it? Almost not at all. At the very least, you can get level 2 Cleave if you really want to, but then the other 2 levels are almost irrelevant. Yes, it's a little bit nicer because you just hit the same creep and every other creep dies, but usually you're just hitting the big creep anyway, so it doesn't matter. But at level 10, you would actually have the skill build that is best of both worlds, and your talent would actually matter. At this point, this talent level kind of, it's nice, but it doesn't really matter that much. However, if we look at Warcry, because cooldown drops by so much, but your duration kind of stays the same, and armor and speed bonus get higher, like the mana cost is relevant. So you go from 30% uptime, you go to 50% uptime, which is quite relevant. Simply because you can't, right now when it's 36 seconds cooldown, you cannot use it to move around. You cannot use it to tank like an ancient stack, for example. It's a spell that you have to kind of keep so that it's ready when you need to. Because if he uses it right now, for example, to save some HP farming, like let's say this was stacked and he was farming it, he saves some HP or gets there a little bit faster, and then there is a fight somewhere that he decides to join or wants to join, he wouldn't have that because, for early game, 40 seconds is too much. 24 seconds is actually much more manageable, and it could be happening right now, already happening. The other point is that, every time you level up, getting the next level is more XP. And usually you jump from level 10 to level 14 quite fast because you participate in fights, and if you trade kills, both teams get XP, so both teams kind of get to level 14 fast. Okay, so that's the second point why this build is relevant, because you can actually have best of both worlds. So it improves your early game, it improves your sort of this very early mid game, like the second wisdom rune basically, but it also doesn't really affect your farming. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't really affect your farming. If we go back a little bit just to show you what Tofu did, this is the general idea for what you want to do early with Sven. You kind of want to think about it like Alchemist. So he doesn't block the big camp, doesn't really care about it, has the sentry. By the way, used kind of cute sentry to the ward, like it's hidden here in the trees, not even here, it's just hidden here, so pretty cool. And you can see he is not really concerned about Sven that much under tower. Just goes to stack quite early. Has the Quellan Blade kind of against Hoodwink, but it also helps to stack, so I would think buying Quellan Blade maybe is just a generally good idea. Kills the creep with his arrow. Kind of, you can see how kind of clumsy all of this is. Like all these pools, all the creeps running forward, etc. But they don't care. This is the proper gameplay, because if you try to stabilize the lane, then Hoodwink and Razor get to play how they want to play, and Razor kind of is gonna make life miserable for Sven. So all they do is they kind of persevere the first 3 minutes. They get stacks going. Now, when this is pushed, Sven kind of kills the creep wave however he can. This guy arrows the range creep, goes to stack, and Sven goes to farm in the stack. So it's 4 minutes in, there's already a bunch of stacks, and Mirana is taking lane XP as well. And Razor, who is like ready, to bully this Sven, not let him do anything, it's irrelevant because Sven has boots. He went the kind of proper build, and if it was an alchemist, you would be like, okay, yeah, this is how alchemist plays. You care nothing about nothing else than just farming the stacks. So Mirana here just does like another kind of clumsy pull. Now Hoodwink realizes, okay, well, there's nothing I can do to Puck. There's nothing. What am I gonna do? Help Razor kill these creeps? I mean, they can't even push it into the tower because Sven's just gonna run out and try to kill it, and he cannot really go bottom. It's awkward. It's just awkward for everybody but Sven and Mirana. Sven and Mirana chilling, having a good time. So Creed tries to do this. We saw that kill. They get the kill, etc. So, and Mirana's just playing, kind of having a good time. Okay, this is early game for Mr. Nikke on Sven, which is what I think you should kind of at least consider playing it this way, than the other way. All right, time to paint some paint. Okay, again, why is a little bit more about why is it relevant to have this skill build. So when you max out Cleave so when you max out the Cleave and you have the build of 1-4-1, this means that really everything you spend for the first 7 levels is to simply hit creeps. In modern Dota, this sometimes is good if everything is going well. Sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's actually not good because the enemy carry invades into your Wisdom Rune, invades into stacks, patrols this area somehow, like farms this area. If the enemy carry does that, say we're on Radiant on Sven, we maxed out Cleave and we're farming this kind of and a little bit of this, and the enemy carry is here. Let's make it green. So the enemy carry is here, doing all these moves. Maybe invade. It's sometimes farms this camp. Sometimes maybe took your stacks, etc. Maybe checks the rune, etc. This can create a lot of pressure to the point where you're gonna be as Radiant carry here. You're gonna be like it's Radiant carry, and then dire cores basically, and then your mid, like Radiant mid. So you're gonna be the most farmed player on the map. Then there are gonna be 3 other cores farmed, and then there's gonna be your mid, which is not exactly what you want in most games. And this might happen simply because you go this build. simply because you go this, you cannot really join, you cannot really TP, you want to maximize your cleave. So it ends up being, it affects your farm positively, but it affects everything else negatively. I mean, everybody else. So in that sense, this is problematic to go this build. What the, for example, 2-1-3 build can give you. Is did I do it right? I think so. Two, yeah. So, for example, what this build gives you is that it might allow you to push slightly more here. It would actually make sense for your supports or one of the cores to come play with you, because having 3 levels would actually mean that you have sort of this aura that can win you a skirmish. I mean, if Sven is 1-4-1, skirmishing with him is kind of pointless because you understand, like, they're not going to group up all 5 people get vacuumed, Leshrac stunned or whatever, and then your cleave goes to work, and kills everybody. That's not what's gonna happen. I think I need to maybe switch colors. Yeah, maybe it's better. Uh, so so this 2-1-3 build actually allows you for slightly different gameplay. Instead of going and farming this territory or this territory if you're on dire, uh, you can actually play more into this area, more into this area, simply because of this extra armor and because you're not afraid to use it. For example, you can use it here, farm this out, run here, and it's gonna be, I mean, like run here, and it's gonna be off cooldown by that time or close to. So you can pressure tower. You can actually TP into mid and use it uh, to some more significant effect. Again, it's unlikely that this is gonna really happen. Oh, my bad. Simply because you still, it's not like you want to waste your time running around on Sven. But the pattern of your farming could change simply because of that skill build. And it is relevant as, for example, SF or what other hero really does that right now? Maybe to some extent like Wind Ranger. No, if you're playing against a hero like that as Sven, what can happen is that they will push this pressure onto you. They will gate, they will go to runes, they will create these skirmishes, and you're gonna be stuck farming, waiting for your blink, etc. And it's gonna get to the point where it's gonna be like, okay, I have my blink plus BKB or whatever. Now I have to make the move, and just because you went for 1-4-1, you end up with having to rely on this timing to work. It's pretty crazy, but I think that although it's far fetched to an extent, I don't think it's gonna happen every game. Like every game you go 1-4-1, despite basically everybody going that build. I can show you. So despite basically, I was looking at Magnus. Uh, Despite everybody going this build, is it not showing? Just see. This is only tournament games. So despite everybody maxing out Cleave, there's not a single person, well, except I guess this guy, who got 2 levels and stun. But then again, but you can see nobody is considering skill in, not skill in Cleave first. And Sven has pretty good win rate, 64% win rate in 25 matches. I guess it kind of mixes in the your tier 3 tournaments, etc. But generally, even despite the fact that I think the build is not optimal, it already has a high win rate. So pushing this build forward into like better territory, at least in some games, it would make sense to not max out the Cleave. Okay. Second reason why it matters is what a lot of games look right now, no, what look like right now, I guess what you would say. So the gold graph kind of goes like this. You do something, you win, and then it stagnates. You do something, and then it stagnates. And this stagnation could be like plus 4k, plus 5k, gold, etc. So you do something that allows you to get an advantage, and then this advantage stays because everybody kind of knows the farming patterns, picks heroes that can farm, uh, and this is almost this is kind of what you can get. Like you can get that. You can get to this plateau where you're ahead, and then you want to use it to kind of get to the next plateau. The problem, as I said, with 1-4-1 build is that it does not really push you into the advantageous kind of position because this relies on your other four guys creating this situation, creating this, kind of proficit or basically advantage. And if there's a more active carry, if the enemy carry had a better lane, he has more kind of ability to push into you. Go for towers, go for runes, objectives, maybe gate or something like that. Then it is kind of really hard pressure on your team, and then it also will be pressure on you when you hit this 4-4-1 build with like whatever blink dagger, saber, whatever, and then you have to make the right move because Sven does not really take objectives. Objectives, kind of question mark, because if they're just annoying, like you go for Roche, you ult, uh, basically you ult, you try to get Roche, they come in, hit you with whatever ice blast. Your ult runs out, no more ult, you're done. You're not taking objectives. So, kind of bottom line for me in all of this is that 1-4-1 forces you to play a certain way. It forces a lot of gameplay choices. Yes, it's nicer, it's easier, it's whatever, but it is also much more limiting to play for really questionable benefit. Really questionable benefit. Okay, I hope you can see that this is not exactly, despite basically it being a small thing, just who cares, it's just early levels, I wouldn't do anything. And you really wouldn't do much with early levels in Stormhammer if you go like the 3-1-1 build. It's not going to be that useful unless you can use it in lane once or twice. But later on, when you hit this level 10, etc., this is where it becomes relevant. So the early points in Cleave are better for the time being, but once you get to level 10, it is actually a liability to have spent that, basically have spent that experience on getting better Cleave when Cleave doesn't really get greater by that much. Okay, with this in mind, let's watch. As I said, there are no examples of anyone really playing the sort of the proper build, I would say. The proper build, based on my point of view. But at least we can look at a little bit of different gameplay. This is pure plain Sven.
Places, people.
As you can see already, the build is very different. He has 4 gauntlets.
30 seconds to battle.
And as you can see in this game, really, Invoker is really not gonna create advantage for you unless Puck really does something stupid, unless there's like some really crazy sunstrikes all over the map, etc. But even then, Invoker is more likely he's gonna need Sven to basically give some space. The other interesting part is that Bane has a short attack range, which makes it hard for him to stack. I would assume you could, excuse me, skill Enfeeble just to stack. Although it's a lot of mana, but you know, Sven would appreciate it. So what I'm saying is, when you look at this game, it's pretty obvious that if Sven is passive, then there is enormous pressure on these three heroes to do something, because Invoker is also not gonna do anything really. And then if you have two heroes not really doing anything, it could spiral out of control very fast. Right, so on top of that, Pure kind of has a different idea. You can see he's not skilling Stormhammer, he's missing the first range creep. You saw what Mickey did. So there's already kind of like this little bit shaky grounds. And I think it comes from the just not having a plan for what you're going to be doing with Sven. You can see he's getting the glove of haste and not boots. Again, very questionable choice, simply because are you really going to be hitting creeps? I mean, you already have no HP. You know, well, at least he's going to have HP. You know.
Courier just got killed. It's like that job is dangerous.
The classic salve after death, but you know, he's probably going to need that. Now, this whole thing, you can see how, because they're not playing, I mean, it's 3 minutes, basically. By 3 minutes, they already, I mean, Liquid already had all these stacks going on. But you can see how Bane and Sven, they're not making this rotation. Like, I stack while you hit, I hit while you kill the stacks, etc. This kind of allows Boxy to do things. Where Crit really didn't have much of a choice. So, again, this very tiny, small kind of mindset for how you want to play the hero is already kind of showcasing. You would understand that if it was what's his name, Mickey, he would be pushing this wave as soon as possible. I agree that this is not the same lane at all. That center is different. But I think the kind of similar mindset would still work better than this. Everybody's farming fine for now. But as you can see with this Great Cleave build, you definitely understand that with this build, Gate is somewhat out of the question. Like, you're not gonna go to kill Tiny. And you can understand that, like, Sven, maybe once he hits level 6, but then this whole rotation is probably gonna be, I mean, it's going to be very difficult because Centaur is going to ult. He might run away. Even if you kill him, Centaur is going to clean all of this up. Puck is going to push into the tower. You know, like, there's just going to be so much happening on the map that it already looks bad. And there's, once you commit to this, there's nothing really you can do about this. For example, he comes in here. As you can see, they kind of want to. I mean, it's kind of mirrored, right? They kind of want to do something about this. Like, they want to have some dynamics on the map. They want to at least do damage to the tower. But there's not really a way to do it. This tower is already almost dead. This tower barely touched. This tower is kind of, you know, a little bit more damage from Invoker, but you expect that because, you know, Nisha probably rotated somewhere, etc. And at this point, Sven is stuck. There's this whole thing is just, he is completely stuck with this. He is committed to defending the tower and hitting creeps. That's it. There's no difference whatsoever that he can make. Now, you could say, okay, well, if he didn't go this build, if he had like 4 levels in Warcry right now, would it really make a difference? Would it really be different? At this point right now, maybe Warcry would make a difference. Maybe getting Storm Harbor would make a difference, because then he could, you know, single target kill. But the point is, right now is not exactly the moment where you want to make the difference. Right now is when you don't want to lose your chance of making a difference later. And this is what Cleave means. Cleave, so far, is certainly giving him you know, easier time cleaning up creeps, right?
Dyer's top tower is about to tumble.
He did kill. Actually, he did kill the creep because of Cleave, so you know, there you go.
It's now or never for Dyer's middle tower.
And it's already 3,000 gold deficit.
Dyer's
However, if, for example, if this is Spectra, or let's say this is Ursa or Slark or something along those lines that has built-in kind of later on gameplay that's gonna make a difference. Sven doesn't really have that. You can definitely surprise people with how much damage you have, and a good jump might make a difference, especially here. Like, you know, there's some miracle, you know, gameplay with, you know, we vacuum, we do whatever, and just Sven kills everybody with his cleave. But again, this is, you know, dream scenario.
Radiant's top it's now or never. Dyer's
As you can see, as soon as Sven kind of tried to do a move, he's punished. He's punished severely. Now, on one hand, you can't flame Pure because he understands, like, okay, if I give up this tower, if I just do the normal gameplay with my cleave, farming all of this, you know, go in here, etc., this tower is gonna fall. I mean, we're gonna lose whole, like, all of the map is gonna get lost. So this is gonna be really bad. So in some sense, he has the right idea. Once like he gets into this position, he has the right idea, but the skill build
Dyer's top
doesn't
tower
help.
is under attack.
So in some sense, he built to farm the creeps, but then he stays and plays as if his build is different. So there's a mismatch between the two things. I mean, sort of predictably, Invoker, you know, he's falling further and further behind because he is not a threat on the map, but he is threatened on the map, you know?
Looks like Radiant structures are now fortified. Can't someone stop them from destroying Radiant's bottom tower? Needs some attention. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Now we get level 10, right? So we get level 10. We could potentially have the Warcry level 4 and Talent plus 5 seconds. It is something, you know, it is something because the damage on Liquid, although seems like there's a lot of it, it's limited. It's not crazy abundant. And the amount of stuns and teamfight on Dire is relevant. However, because we don't have that, the only thing we can really, you know, hope to do here is maybe get a solo kill, which will not matter even if you kill Puck, even if you somehow kill Tiny. It will not matter because the farm potential on Radiant is still the same. So killing, you know, a target is it's gonna be not bad, but essentially we get to this level 10 kind of timing. We get the talent, which is kind of useless. And there's nothing we can do. It's not the timing. We get here so that we can understand that, well, you know, this is not really a timing. We gotta go do something else. We gotta wait for a different timing.
Mega kill.
Well, you know, you can see that the game is not gonna be that much longer.
Enjoyed that bottom tower while it lasted. Dominating.
But in some sense, this is a fairly miserable game for Sven because it's just waiting to lose or waiting for Liquid to mess it up. However, at the beginning of the patch, I would say that okay, there's probably some win rate you can have here, like if you really plan a defense. Like people are not, well, people were not used to Invoker and how much damage he can do. Like Darkseer was a little bit, you know, out there. People didn't know how much he can stall and manipulate waves, etc., etc. And Sven definitely can do damage. Like, so they have a way, you know, to play this game. If this patch was earlier on, if this was several months ago, I would say they kind of have a chance here to defend. But given how long people have been playing this patch and how many times people fail to go high ground, I don't think it's happening anymore. Like the chance of you defending on high ground is probably not really that high because it will depend on enemies making mistakes. So your best bet is have an earlier timing, fight on Roche, fight on Tormentor, kind of make something happen earlier.
Now or never for Dyer's fortified their structures. I wonder how they do with tents.
But unfortunately for them here, I don't think it's happening. And from the perspective of this game specifically, I think the only opening I can kind of see for Sven to really make a difference is go a different build. Because it would not, again, impact his farming that much, but it would give him a small kind of skirmish power that I because there's simply nobody playing this build, it's too hard to gauge if it actually would do anything. Maybe it is irrelevant, but maybe it's just enough to keep the, you know, the liquid advantage from growing, and then actually giving them a good chance of defending Roche or Tormentor or whatever. Alright, I think we can look at one more game from Pure. Actually won the other game. Also Sven, this time with Wisp. Although Wisp was mid.
To your marks, everyone.
So he has the same idea, so this is like his plan on how to play. It's again against Centaur, so maybe it's his plan against Centaur, but given the build, everything, I think that's just his general idea of how to play Sven. Maybe if I watched more of his games, I would know if that's the default build or special against Centaur. Okay, so they get the kill. Kind of everything is going better. I mean, it's understandable because Wisp and Invoker are very different heroes in many ways. Wisp can is way more active. Also, Largo somehow has like a much better lane than Darkseer against Mickey. I don't know what happened there, but kind of not the point of the video. Dies here, kind of again.
Radiant's middle tower can't take much more of this. From destroying Radiant's.
I mean, he's saving skill points, which kind of might suggest that he wants to go a different build, but really I think he's just skilling it so that he doesn't push, he doesn't push the creep wave. But who knows? Pure is a smart player, and I would think at least, he's capable of, going something different. Maybe that's what he was thinking, but I kind of just doubt that. So he finally gets Cleave. He kind of gets Centaur, because of Wisp. Because as you can see, the gameplay here, it has not changed. Like, it's the same as just the game we just watched. The difference really comes from the other heroes. Like, this Sven is making no difference.
Dyer's structures are fortified. Dyer's tower is under attack.
Did he gate or did I miss? I don't know. Yeah, he did good.
Dyer's middle tower could fall stonage. It is looking dire for Dyer's top tower. Dyer's top tower is about to tumble.
That was a weird sort of gate in the sense, like, you can see how miserable it is because of, because of the build.
Just had its final scene. Killing spree.
You can see how this is the game where the build I'm talking about kind of makes way more sense. Simply because he is trying to run around a lot. He is trying to not exactly hit stacks or kill creep waves fast. He is just simply running around, and then maxing out other spells would make much more sense. I wouldn't go as far as saying like, okay, if he maxed out his E here, he would survive or something like that. I don't think that's the case. It really is just about the dynamics you can bring to the game. Despite his team trying to really force themselves, kind of into enemy territory, it's not really going that well. One very simple reason: there's no pressure from Sven. If Sven was SF, or if Sven was Luna, or something that kind of buys Manta, flesh farms, and pushes the wave at the same time, even if Sven was maybe Doom or something that has this pressure on you, then this game would probably already spiral out of control. If it was Tiny, how we saw in the last game. So in some sense, I'm not saying Sven is bad. What I'm saying is there's something missing, and this is what we're looking for. Like, how can we actually? Because Sven definitely has his strong kind of sides. It's obvious because he wouldn't have good win rate otherwise. Like if it was just a trash hero. But it is not as straightforward as it might seem. As you can see, they're really struggling to bring more of this advantage. It's been 2K for a very long time. Really, this Sven gameplay is kind of funny to me. It's mostly just kind of okay, guys. I'm coming. No, wait. I'm a Sven. There's nothing I can do. Sorry, my bad. I'm gonna go hit creeps now.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. It's now or never. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Really, the reason I wanted to show this game as well, because you can see here that the Sven gameplay didn't really change much from the previous game where they got stomped. What changed is what his team was doing. And that was what I'm trying to kind of push um, push further from. So that, is there something you can do on a good hero, which Sven probably is, at least for now? Did you do something to make it easier for your team, to make it more stable, that your team has a better game? And I think this is what I'm really trying hard to kind of explain, even though I'm saying the same thing 10 times in a row. It is really just an attempt to explain that it is relevant. It is not just a tiny small thing. What I'm trying to say is like it's a tiny small thing that grows and grows in its importance the more you kind of try to build this structure for the game. Like it's not that relevant early on, but it gets more and more relevant the more you look at it. So far, the gameplay is just absolutely pointless to watch. Like, I mean, I like watching this kind of games because you can see how little sometimes you have to do. I mean, you can say, okay, there are a lot of small things. He didn't get caught, he didn't die, but really, this is standard gameplay for any like decent carry. This is very standard. And now when he has level 15, he has this level 3 shield. They try to go for your mentor. They decided not to. Because again, as I said, Sven doesn't take objectives. There's also AA. finally kind of Sven is online, and they're, you know, like, now we can play Dota as if we have 5 heroes and not 4. You can see how much better all of this works when Sven has level 4 shield. There's actually a hero that can, you know, go in, do something be effective. So it's a little bit deceiving. The, you know, the numbers on this, they don't seem that impressive. Growing from 5 points armor to 14, from 6% to 15% bonus speed, you know, the cooldown. But because they all improve kind of together, it actually adds up and becomes very relevant force. And obviously, you know, the earlier it is, the more kind of relevant. Well, not obviously, but, you know, it's... two people died to Tormentor, and this is very good replay to watch for the last point I'm gonna make in this video. Something I alluded to previously, but something that kind of is relevant. We're gonna finish watching this because, you know, it does, you know, looking through Pure's eyes in this game, it doesn't seem like the game should be over anytime soon. I mean, it's 25 minutes in, it wasn't really that obvious what was happening. In terms of, like, who's gonna win, because on, you know, if you look at Radiant's lineup just purely on, what would you call it? Purely on hero against hero kind of counter matchups. I mean, AA versus Wisp is pretty good. Nyx should be pretty good against Sven. Kunkka and Centaur seems like would be hard to kill for these heroes. So, I wonder what's the percentage that... Yeah, as you can see, the other two, Dota Plus kind of gives them 57%. I don't know how like reliable it is. It to me it feels reliable. It's sort of like, it feels like I understand what Dota Plus means. You know what I mean? But it's you know, again, it's not, you know, a given. Okay, this AA ult is, I'm gonna get tilted, but this AA ult onto Sven, who has a BKB, and they have no like burst damage, or like they don't have a Wind Ranger who's gonna make sure that this guy dies. This is actually quite bad. And well, just like that, they kind of kill almost everybody. Another unfortunate sort of team fight for Radiant, and I guess they're just gonna GG out or what? Yeah, they're just GG out. Does look like Bad Boom are just were not ready to play. They just feel miserable and don't want to play, because I don't understand how you GG out here. If this is TI, there's zero chance they're typing GG. But who knows? Anyway, I think this game was a good example of what can happen to Sven. As we're closing in on an hour-long video, I just wanted to go back to a point I made earlier, and I think that will be it. So the point I made earlier is Corbin, Team Spirits manager, said an interesting thing that essentially current Dota 2 scene is extremely competitive. The way I see it is he's not wrong, simply because competitive means that there are a lot of teams, each like square is a team, who are on the same level. You know, this is like skill. So this is like 0 and this is like some other number. If you watched my previous videos, when I made a video about Team Spirit, this is exactly what I said, that, top teams, uh, they have like rating of 1700 or like 1800, and then top 2 team is like 795, so the difference is really small. It's very exaggerated. Um, and this is the model that kind of, I think Corbin kind of refers to. However, what they forget to tell you, and this is, you can see it from games and you can feel it, what they're telling you. If this is like our skill, sort of, our skill metric, right? And this is 0. Uh, what the scene will try to convince you of is that you take the top team, and this is the best. This is as high skill as you can get. This is top 1 team, like this is Falcons or whoever. What Liquid won the last tournament, or like Vision won the EWC. So top 1 team is the highest skill you can get. That's it. This is not the case, and this has been proven many times in other sports or whatever. At some point there was like the best chess player, and he was the best player in the world, and he had the rating of, I don't know, in modern times, like let's say 2200. And then chess engines appeared, and now the best human players like 3000 or something, and then there are chess engines who are way above that. I don't know what the numbers are, but basically there's a chess engine here. And no matter how much you will try to convince the general public that this is the highest skill you can be, because there's somebody higher skill, it's obvious that that's not true. Yes, for human player, this is the highest skill it can be, and it's an impressive achievement. It's not nothing. But it doesn't mean that this is the highest skill there can be. And so what is happening in Dota right now is that there's a 0 somewhere, and then the current competitive scene is all clumped up around some number somewhere. Like they're all here. Like this is what we would call tier 1, this is tier 2, this is like tier 3, and they're all clumped up around some rating here somewhere. Like they're clearly not bad, they're clearly somewhere above 0. But where is this like top level skill? uh we don't know. When OpenAI played, it was pretty obvious that humans were clueless about a lot of things. It opened our eyes to a lot of things. It was very glaringly obvious. Right now, I would say that actually, what the only thing that has happened in the last few years is that the skill floor. So if we say like this floor for pro teams, even tier 3 teams, has risen way above. Like it used to be here somewhere, like 5 years ago. It was here somewhere, and this floor, it kind of went up. But the skill ceiling, uh, brush. Sorry, my sick. But the skill ceiling, I don't know how to spell ceiling. So this like ceiling, is this it? We simply don't know where it is. However, as you watch this video and if you pay attention and think about it, as I said, nobody has considered this Sven build, as far as I can tell. We can even look at pubs, as there's more pubs available now. You can see that people are just not doing this at all. I think there's 0 chance, there's, well, maybe 1% chance that I'm completely wrong, and everything I've been saying like for this hour is wrong, and that I'm delusional, etc. But I think the chances of me being so delusional are much smaller than the chances of just people not really paying attention to what's happening in the game. And these small things, they keep happening, they keep coming back, where pro players just doing things that then just a little bit time after become obviously wrong. So what can happen in this whole scenario? Let's say I'm right, and Sven is relevant, right? And in 1 week at TI, people figure it out, that okay, we don't need to max out. We will. We don't have to max out Cleave. So from 1 week to today, no, in this span of time, the ceiling was at the same kind of level. You know, the ceiling it didn't move. It was at the same level. It's that the players improved. They moved closer to that ceiling because they changed something. They figured something out, and that tells you that at least today they were not at the highest level. They definitely were not. And if you pay attention to Dota for a while, you will notice that it's constantly improving. But improving not because it's this kind of ladder where it keeps getting better and better and better and better and better. It's not really that. It's more like there are a lot of options. So there's some kind of semblance of skill here. And there's like meta or ways to play. Meta keeps shifting. It goes somewhere, it goes something. But meta shifting, meta improving, etc., doesn't mean that the skill improves at the same time. It doesn't mean that at all. It could be just meta shifts. So, to finish this, we can say that the scene is quite competitive. And we can say that there is, teams are as they are. Like, this is all the pro teams, we can divide them into tiers: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So they're all there somewhere. However, if we were to look at the skill, pure skill possible in Dota, I would venture to say that if we said that there's some kind of skill ceiling, and from that skill ceiling to whatever, this is tier 1. I think most teams are not here. They're not there at all. There's a level above what everybody is playing, and people have not unlocked it for a while. We can go, into reasons why this is happening. I don't personally know. I have some ideas, but it's a different story. But in reality, this is unoccupied territory. Everybody is somewhere here in the mud, like just doing something. But this real true tier 1, there's nobody there. That's why it's competitive. Because people are of equal skill, not because they're showcasing or playing the best Dota possible. I don't know if this is a problem for anyone really, but I see it as an opportunity. I think any team that is driving themselves towards this improvement can be the first to be there. And obviously, if you're this much better, like if you're playing on a different level than others, winning is going to be much easier. And I believe things like looking into this Sven build, trying to understand what is happening, not just with Sven, but getting the general idea of what is strong, how things interact, is a pathway there. All right, this has been a video about Sven Cleave. Thank you for watching. I'll be uploading a bit more in the near future. All right, good games, everybody. Good luck.